PipSnipers here, back for another update. Let's take a look at XRP over here. And back in 2013, we had an ABC correction upwards. So this was the creation of the coin. And anyone who was involved within this coin below the 50%, they were selling their bags at the extension over here just to bring it back down to demand zone below the 50%, right down to the 88.6% fib. So if we look at it on the weekly time frame, you can see that we quickly recovered after just tapping or just going below the 88.6% fib, going just below this psychological support over here. So this was a valid sweep. So you see how once you swept this psychological support, we got bought up very quick, had a retrace down to the 38.2% fib, and then started our impulse from there. Okay, so this was just a pure manipulation type move over here. And then if we if we zoom in a little, so let's take a look. Okay, so then we start our impulse after having this double bottom. So we have a 5-wave move up to create your wave 1. Then we have a WXY correction. So with a WXY correction, there's an ABC within each wave. So you have an ABC down, you have an ABC up, and then another ABC down over here. Then you start your explosive third wave to the upside, which would be in January to March of 2017. And where are we now? We're in March of 2024. So we started our third wave up here. You have your wave 1, wave 2, then you have a 5-wave move up for your wave 3, come down for your wave 4, and then you have a 5th wave to the golden pocket. Okay, so our golden pocket was sitting perfectly right there at $3.40. So I'll make this gold just so you guys can get a better understanding. So this was your golden pocket. And then because we went up by so much, because we had such an explosive wave 3, right? We went up over 100,000%. Because of that, we had a long and drawn out bear market. So look how long this lasted. This bear market lasted over 2,000 days, over 2,200 days, okay? And the reason for that is because we had such an explosive wave 3. So whenever you have the creation of the coin, you have an initial run up or you have an immediate dump, right? In this case, we had an initial run up. We then had a move back down to supply to the demand zone, okay, after hitting a key extension. Then we start our impulsive wave up, and all we did for 2,000 days was create a base. Okay, this is you could call it a Wyckoff reaccumulation schematic. So usually with an ABC correction, you have an A, a B, and then a C wave like that. But in this case, we have an A wave, a B wave, rejecting at the 78.6% fib, and then a C wave terminating at the 618 rather than going to make a new low below your A wave. Okay, so we see that exact same thing over here, right? We have a 3-wave move down, okay, hitting the 0.702. We had a nice spring after taking out psychological support, okay? Once you take out psychological support, so anything below this psychological support would be considered manipulation. This is where all the smart money is getting in. Okay, so you have a 3-wave move down, a 3-wave move up, and then a 5-wave move down in a ending diagonal with a 5th wave overthrow. Okay, so whenever you have a channel, whether it's a rising wedge, a falling wedge, a rising channel, falling channel, whatever it is, especially in crypto, you're going to have what's called an overthrow. So you have your wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you think it's done there, right? You think it's going to reverse, but then it ends up doing this, and then it comes down. Same thing for the downside, right? So if we were to flip this you would have this kind of springing action below this psychological support, which would be this trend line. So we see that exact same thing over here to mark the bottom of our bear market. Or you could say mark the bottom of our A wave before we had a run up in 2021. So we came down to the 70.2% fib for our fifth wave overthrow of our C wave. We then had a 5-wave move up in a leading diagonal. Okay. So this is your ascending broadening wedge. 5-wave move up, and you see how the waves are overlapping. We then come down to the 78.6% fib, have a flash crash below this psychological support, which would be this trend line. Take out all of your over leveraged longs and shorts at the same time. Okay, so over here would be taking out all of your over leveraged longs. Over here would be taking out your over leveraged shorts. So after you have an ABC correction down, we then have another 5-wave move up to create your C wave. So what do we have here? We have a 3-wave move down, a 3-wave move up, and then for our C wave, or our last leg in the bear market, we have a 5-wave move to the downside with a truncation of the 5th wave. Okay, so you see how the 5th wave fails to kind of make its way below this wave 3 low, kind of just goes sideways. This is what's called a truncation in the 5th wave, and you usually see this when you have a very explosive wave 3 or a capitulation to the downside. And so this is exactly what XRP did, okay? You had your creation of the coin, you had your 3-wave move up, founders sell at the extension, bring it down into discount territory, back at demand zone. Then we start our next impulsive leg to the upside. Okay, once you have your peak, you have your downtrend, which is expected, of course, after you have your 5 waves up. You have your counter trend, which fails to breach this high. Okay, it hits the 78.6% fib. So over here you see we fail to get above the 786. Okay, we failed to get any meaningful closure above that 786. Okay, perfectly hitting the 2.618 on the dot when we use our trend base fib. Okay, from the bottom of our trend to the top and down to the bottom of our counter trend. So, a lot of people say that the XRP run was cut short because of the SEC, but I do not believe in that, right? Because even though XRP got sued or Ripple got sued, XRP still went up, right? We can't just blame the fact that it stopped here on the SEC because it still went up after Ripple got sued, right? So all this was a 335 Elliott wave flat pattern. So you had a 3-wave move down, okay? You have a 3-wave move up, and then a 5-wave move to the downside with such an explosive and capitulation within our wave 3 that we end up having a sideways wave 5 like that. Okay, just sweeping this low with a wick. Okay, and then now we start our next leg in the bull market, or our next leg in the market, taking out liquidity resting above this high. Okay, so let's go back to the chart over here. Okay, 3-wave move down, 3-wave move up, 5-wave move to the downside, hitting your 70.2% fib. Okay, and then what we have over here is a 5-wave move up in a leading diagonal similar to that of 2020. Okay, this is your 5 waves up. Perfectly hitting the 1.236. Okay, you see how we perfectly hit that 1.236, and then just like in 2020, we come down below this trend line, below where so as the price rises here, people are placing their stops at this trend line. Okay, they're placing their buy stops below this trend line. So what is this? What is this acting as? This is acting as our trend line liquidity. Okay, so while we were within a ascending broadening wedge, with the fifth wave hitting your 1.236, which is typical for an ascending broadening wedge, we come down below psychological support, right? Just like we did back in 2020, coming back down all the way to your 78.6% fib on the linear scale. Okay, you see how we perfectly wick to that 786? Then if we look a little closer here, so I'm going to show you this wave count when we just zoom in on this structure here on the 12-hour time frame. Okay, and let's take a look at this. So let's zoom in on this correction over here. Let's go on the 4-hour. We have, so after having our 5 waves up, this would create your wave 1 of your huge impulsive structure to the upside, okay? This, what we went into after hitting 92 cents was a wave 2, a WXY correction, and we've been in this correction for 201 days, and now we finally see a resolution above the downtrend. Okay, so let's look a little closer here. What we have is a 3-wave move down, a 3-wave move up, and a 5-wave move to the downside to create your A wave, or sorry, your W wave. So you have a ABC correction, and then another ABC correction up, rejecting off the 70.2% fib. And then you have another ABC correction. So it's just a bunch of 3, 3, 5. So 3 waves down, 3 waves up, 5 waves down. 3 waves up, 3 waves down, 5 waves up. Okay, 3 waves down, 3 waves up, 5 waves down. Okay, so it's just a WXY correction. And then we broke out of this descending channel. So this is your 5 waves here. This would create your wave 1. We came right up to the 70.2% fib from this X wave high down to this Y wave low. Also the 1.382. Okay, that was your 1.382 right here. Okay, now if we take a fib from the very bottom over here up to the top of the trend, we notice that we have hit the 702. Okay, so as most of you know, XRP loves the 702. We rejected off of it and then found support right off of it as well. Then if we look at the 50-day SMA, we see that it's been tagged. Okay, let's drop down to the hourly time frame on this KuCoin chart that I have over here, and I'll show you exactly what I'm thinking. Okay, so this is the KuCoin chart that I have here. Let's go on the 5-minute time frame. So right now this would be considered your selling climax. So if we look over here, we have a 3-wave move down, a 3-wave move up, and for our C wave, we have a full-on capitulation. So a 3-wave move down, 3-wave move up, and a 5-wave move to the downside. And this would be considered, this over here would be considered your selling climax. Then you have your automatic rally, then your secondary test. And the reason you have this automatic rally is because it doesn't take much to move the price back up, right? Because you have a bunch of retail capitulating over here. So this is your selling climax, your automatic rally, your secondary test, and then you have your failed break over here. At least I will think it'll be a failed break because this is just the way the algo works. And then we see a move back down below equilibrium, so below the 50%, into discount territory for your secondary test in phase B. Okay, this would be premium, anything. So remember, think like a market maker. Whales do not want to be buying XRP right now. They want to move the price back into discount zone below the 50% so they can catch some bids before driving the price back up for your massive wave 3 that is about to ensue. So let's take a look at XRP historical chart. Let's go back to that historical chart. Let's take a look at the daily time frame. So as long as this holds over here, so I'm letting you know that the price may move back down into discount zone. So now we have a range here. The price may move back down into discount zone. Okay. It's going to take some inefficiency below the equilibrium before whales move it back up. So let's take a look at XRP. As long as it doesn't go below 0.5436, then we're good for a continued move up. Okay, now there's going to be some chopping around in this range over here. There's going to be chop in this range. Okay, and when we come down below discount zone at 0.56084, retail is going to think that it's going to go below this low, below your selling climax. But from what I've seen in the markets is that this over here is your selling climax, your automatic rally, second test, fail break, and we still have to have your secondary test in phase B. This is where all the smart money enters. So this will likely happen during London session, but let's not focus too much on the small time frame, and let's take a look at the bigger, what we have on the bigger picture. So let's go on the weekly time frame over here. Let's remove this small time frame wave count that I have, and let me see here. Okay, let me see what I have here. Okay. So looking at XRP, if we take a fib from this high down to this low and look at the 1.236, 1.382, I feel like it's going to sweep this buy side liquidity, right? Once you sweep this buy side liquidity, tag these levels over here, which is also the 1.618. Okay, probably come down for a wave 4 to around the 38.2% fib, and then go on for our explosive wave 5, which would be wise for you to start taking heavy profit. Okay, now remember, these targets are subject to change. So if you haven't joined the Discord, please click the link in the description below to join that. You get access to all of these charts over here. Okay, you get updates from me all day. And let's go back here. Okay, so yeah, so this is what I think with XRP. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. Remember that during this run up, you're gonna have several mini flash crashes on the way up, which is gonna take many people by surprise, and it's gonna be bought up very quick, like with the snap of your fingers. Okay, so right now I think XRP has bottomed. Okay, I think XRP has bottomed here at the 70.2% fib and the 50-day SMA, but I want to warn you that we have established a range here. So a move back down into discount zone below the equilibrium wouldn't be out of the cards. Okay, wouldn't be out of the picture. So a move back down here, and then whales will bring it back up for an eventual breakout above your range. So let's take a look at XRP on another chart here, on the Bitstamp chart. And I'm going to show you exactly what I think XRP is doing. So when you had your fourth wave, this over here would be considered your selling climax. Okay? This is your selling climax. You then have your automatic rally. You have your secondary test of the lows. A failed breakout. Okay, so now a lot of people say, oh, XRP is manipulated, XRP is manipulated. Is it really manipulated if we can map out each and every wave? Okay, it's not manipulated as much as you think. It's just market algo. Okay, so this is your selling climax, automatic rally, second test, failed break. This is your secondary test in phase B. Okay, below your secondary test, which is psychological support. So remember, going below this psychological support, which we did here, is considered a sweep, which creates a short squeeze. Okay. Secondary test in phase B, then you have your failed break number 2. Okay, so this is your failed break number 2 when you move to the top of the range. Okay. After your failed break number 2, we come down to mid-range and chop around to the side. Price gets squeezed. And what would this be called? This would be called your last point of support. You usually have 2 of these. You usually have 2 of these before your sign of strength comes in. Right at the 1.236. Okay, see how we perfectly hit that? Then we come down for our backup phase at the 78.6% fib. So this would be considered your backup / last point of support. You have a W, X, Y correction. Now we're starting our breakout because we're also above the 50-day SMA. Okay, and the 100-day SMA, the 50-day, and the 21. Okay, so 21, 50, and 100. We've managed to get a closure above it. Okay, we've managed to get above it. So your backup phase is done. Okay, now this backup phase, it took over 200 days. Okay, this whole entire Wyckoff accumulation range, $593 days. Okay, so think of how much pent-up energy we have in here from all the people accumulating for over 2 years. Okay, think about what the price will do when it finally breaks out above this level. It'll be absolutely ballistic. Okay, and yeah, so after your backup phase, what I like to call it the point of no return. And the reason I call it the point of no return is because when you have a 5-wave move up to create your peak, a 3-wave move down, and then you have accumulation at the lows for 600 plus days, you're going to see a continuation of that trend, targeting liquidity, resting above this last high. And this over here would be considered your internal range liquidity. So we're likely going to take out this internal range, come down a bit, chop around here, people are going to think it's over, and then we're going to shoot up to a new all-time high. Okay, so this is exactly what we see. We see your peak, you have your your A, B, C correction, and then your accumulation of the lows. What happens what happens when we get into phase E? We go ballistic. Right now we're in phase E. Okay? Phase E is done. Or we're about to enter phase E. So after your backup phase, we start our next impulsive structure to the upside. And if we look at the MACD on the 2-week, okay, so it's above the 0 line over here, and it's looking good so far. Let's take a look at another chart that I have here. Okay, so now this is your peak, okay? This is your peak here at 93 cents. So this would be our external range. This would be your internal range. And I'm going to map out exactly why this is all algo. We topped out at the 1.236 4-hour wave 1. Okay. Perfectly hits the 1.236 there. Then comes down to the 78.6% fib. Moves back up to the 70.2% fib. And then find support on the 786. Okay, so it's just levels, right? It's just algo trading. You have your internal range over here. This would be considered your internal range liquidity. And then we have our external range right over here. And we have a throwback to the 78.6% fib. So eventually, we're going to see the price take this out, come down a bit, chop around, and then continue its way above this external range towards our macro target. So let's go back to this chart over here that I have here on KuCoin, and I can see that we are coming down a little. Yeah, so this is just a 5-minute chart that I have here. Wouldn't surprise me we come down into discount zone before the market makers bring the price back up again. So remember, maybe late into the Asian session or going into London session, once price goes below the 50% here, this is where all the retail panic. Okay, they panicked over here. This is when the smart money bought. Okay, right at the 300% fib or the 70.2% fib. that we hit. So let's, okay, you see how we came down to the 786? Okay, so they panicked over here at the 786. We had an automatic rally because it doesn't take much for the price to move back up. A secondary test. Then what we have is what's called a failed breakout. Okay, so now we have the top of our range here. We're going to see a move back down into discount before whales bring the price back up, chop around here, and then continue its ascent. Okay, so I'm just showing you the trajectory here, but the long-term structure and the bullish structure of XRP has not changed one bit. We're still on our way to double digits. Everything is looking good. Let's go back to this historical chart that I have here. Let's go on the daily time frame. And I'm going to show you this chart one more time so you guys can get a better idea of what exactly we did. Wave 1, wave 2. This was your explosive third wave, and all we were doing was for our fourth wave was a 335 Elliott wave flat pattern. So many people think that XRP was in a triangle pattern, a wedge. I don't think that. Okay, because then it would have to be A, B, C, D, and E, with 3 waves within each wave. This is not 3 waves here. This is 5 waves with a truncation in the 5th. Okay, so it can't be a triangle wave. So you have a 3-wave move down, 3-wave move up, and a 5-wave move to the downside. Now we're starting our next impulse. Okay? Which I think will be very explosive. Wouldn't surprise me we hit 10 to 12 bucks here. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the XRP video. If you want to see more videos like this, then click the link in the description below. Peace out and take it easy. See you in the next one.